don't they deal with the monetary issues, procurement issues, So the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health and Sanitation, NACSA, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Youth Commission. So those are like the institutions where we write to. So what we did at STI was to write and know how much the ministries they had done received and disbursed in the fight against COVID-19.
Well, I don't ask the institutions there also.
Absolutely.
What not the reply?
So that's what the law says. If you request for an information, the public institution get 3 days for get back to you for inform you whether the information we the request for is even available with, or 15 working days for provide you the information. So we write the letters there on the 16th June 2020, and they did not get back to us. Nobody acknowledged any of the ministries. They did not even acknowledge our letter and say we are in receipt of SDI's letter, blah blah, requesting for this information. They did not get back to us. So the 15 working days elapsed. They did not get back to us. So we waited, and then after like almost 25 days, we wrote back to them with a reminder letter. Say, we are asking you to provide us this information. We wrote another reminder letter reminding the various ministries. We have written you guys letters requesting just for monies received and disbursed against during this COVID-19. They did not get back to us. So what do we do now? Now for rights to the commission, for me to invoke section 42.1, which is a tribunal, requesting them government ministries, departments and agencies and they for making them provide with the information. National Commission for Social Action, NACSA, they only provide with the information after we remind that letter go. And then give we the information which is there be the request for. The Ministry of Youth Affairs provide we information. Towards the other ministries, nobody has provided us with any.
Is it a situation that now Society for Democratic Initiative, SDI, or the law, they not take serious?
It's the law. It's a complete disrespect for the rule of law. The law was enacted by an act of parliament. Right to access information is a fundamental human right. And sometimes we consider it for be the backbone of all human rights, right? So if it took STI 10 years, that the law was enacted by an act of parliament, and government ministries, departments, and agencies, they deliberately refuse not for provide information requested for, then that's complete disrespect for the rule of law.
Is it that one of the suspects anything now STI we make one of the request?
All what we are saying, we say proactive disclosure of information will enhance transparency and accountability. Nobody talks, right? So if the Minister of Finance be supposed to buy social amount of SUVs. First, what in the procurement law says, therefore advertising. All the procurement process would have been advertised. They will give an excuse, say this is an emergency, but emergency situations, that doesn't mean you breach the rule of the law. So advertise them, let the public know what will happen. Mark you, if the public know how government they disbursed money, then the Minister of Finance not really get about.
What next?
Our next step is we have just written to the commission. We don't inform the commission about the failure or the non-compliance of them government ministries, department or agency. We don't fail for provide information. And I'm very sure the commission is going to instruct them to provide with the information. If they fail with the instruction of the commission, then litigation is our next option. You cannot have a law done. Government officials they deliberately flout the law without going to court. There is nothing wrong to go to court. We go to court for an interpretation of the law.
Well, that's not the program manager na Society for Democratic Initiative SDI. When Judge Mustafa Bidi talked to Musa Eskama inside that interview, they also is said they will take court action against the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health and Sanitation, National Youth Commission, and NACOVAC if they not tell them how they spend the copper where they get from government and don't know pattern for the coronavirus. The program and made the show. Any side you listen, send your message or comment to the number 077 981 981. As I don't state earlier today inside the program, we go look inside the confidence and trust with civil society organization and people in get per member of parliament and after plenty allegation them against member of parliament. And once again, they introduce me guest Sheikh Lamin Toure, when a deputy director of public relations from parliament. Good afternoon and welcome to the program again.
Once again, good afternoon, 98.1.
And I also get Marcela Sambasisi, executive director campaign for good governance. Okay, this particular time I start with Sheku Trio come out na Parliament. Sheku, you don't listen to the topic we will look at today. For start with, let Famulo give you an overview in terms of the role of member of Parliament like the key mandate.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, and we members of Parliament and the elected representatives of the people then get certain responsibilities, and one of which now for make law for the peace, security, and development of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and also then get responsibility for represent the people of Sierra Leone in light of their views and to waiting go enable and improve the welfare in our society. And also members of Parliament get responsibility for do oversight on the activities of ministries, departments, and agencies of government, and make sure say then come up with reports with recommendations will go be debated and approved by Parliament and for implementation by the executive. So in the final say, in respect of an oversight, we get for also do with the approval of the budget, and Parliament gets a critical role for all the executive to account for the development of the country.
So you don't state different in them, but I go pick one out of the different in the way you don't say represent Salon people for improve the welfare of the people, and that's the role of member of Parliament. From which you state so from the different in the way you say we'll get for take step at a time. You think so this key one in the welfare for improve the welfare of people. Now one member of Parliament sincerely don't do in the interest of the people from the different law and bill them waking on a Parliament.
And members of Parliament, and with respect to representation, and I go state and for the attention of members of the public say, and in as much as we expect much, from parliamentarians with respect to representation as to what in the Constitution provide for, yet and members of Parliament then constrained. And for example, it is expected that before a bill is passed into law, that the members of Parliament forget the opportunity for go back na then constituency and old meetings, get discussions and come with feedback.
You talk about constraint, like waiting so where you talk about say the member of Parliament and constraint with.
Yeah, allow me. And for example, in terms of budgetary constraint, and members of Parliament actually need resources and for go back, for engage and mobilize the people and come back na Parliament so that they go debate from an informed standpoint as far as the views and and aspirations of the people then concern. And this is a challenge, and where Parliament gets. I get for be frank with this discussion. Yeah.
Okay, continue for those to Sheku Lamintoye from Parliament and the Deputy Director of Public Relations. Will they come back to you now? I come over to Marcella Samba Sisi from Campaign for Good Governance. Madam Samba, you don't hear the few words we Mr. Toye don't talk about in terms of the member of Parliament, their role and challenges we in a state. For a start, what do you think about the point where he bring out in terms of the mandate of member of Parliament in terms of representation of people?
Okay, I totally agree with that Parliament gets, all of the rules the way you just mentioned, and I just want to reiterate that Parliament is a small salon. The Parliament of Sierra Leone, na small Sierra Leone. Waiting people then go say na English, then go say na microcosm. If you want to watch salon through the microscope, just watch Parliament. So na small salon. Because me and you we sit also, we return one person from the constituency that will belong. We return one person, say let them this particular individual go represent we in that constituency. So we get 132 plus, the members that will come out now from the paramount chieftaincy within a Parliament. So, but then at one point, one role with Parliament they play, one strategic role representation. The second one, now this, when I can call the legislature, they are legislators. Now then they make law.
Oh yeah.
Now then they make law. And then law and they make, I totally agree with them, for the peace and stability of the country. Because without the law, human tendency. And political scientists they say that tendency they brutish. It may say without the law for regulate people and tendency, this bad thing where people use for do it will come forward. So the law they help for regulate that for the peace and stability of the nation. So it's how central parliament be. But more importantly, every other person, that's why personally I see the parliament as the trump card of every society. Any society will stable, any society will progress. The mirror when a parliament, it get for be vibrant, it get for be robust, it get for be strong. Every other person will sit on a cabinet, with the exception of His Excellency the President of the state and certain offices them, like the Attorney General, where the Constitution by give powers say they're not for pass through Parliament. Where the Constitution supports all other person in Parliament they appoint them. And then they even say approve because the president of this republic, according to the 1991 Constitution, can suggest somebody, say this person now wants to sit on this particular ministry or this department or agency. Parliament can say no. After, because then at the middle of society, after they don't go find out for time, they don't get appropriate feedback, then go say no, that person they not fit for all that role. So in actual fact, me they say that then they appoint and approve all my way they sit on a cabinet. But the last point, and I think it's an essential for this debate, the role of parliament. When we talk about the oversight responsibility, they want indeed and get fiscal responsibility. The financial control of this nation, na parliament in hand.
So what you go say about the constraint when Mr. Tori talk about financially member of parliament not able to go that in constituency for engaged in constituents them.
You see, one of the things the work you always say, democracy will for contextualize them. In fact, now one of the most misused terms in the history of political development. But the value where some of we see in a democracy, now a process where we able to localize, we for able for see the country and say this thing so now go suit you. One of the things that were me personally not able to come to terms with, now this very role what don't say parliament get, when are they responsible for financial controls in the country. These projects they pass now on our hand. And when I get a critical oversight function. If these projects they pass now on our hand, how do you integrate controls in this project for parliament for able for performing function effectively?